Problem 8.2 on page 293 says this: an individual has $35,000 invested in a stock with a beta of 0.8 and another $40,000 invested in a stock with a beta of 1.4. If these are the only two investments in her portfolio, what is her portfolio beta? In problem 8.1 and 8.6, we were talking about measures of standalone risk. In the remainder of the problems, we're talking about risk in a portfolio context. And risk in a portfolio context breaks down into two sources. There is diversifiable risk, and diversifiable risk is risk that I can get rid of by diversifying into more than one investment. The second type of risk is market risk, and it is risk that is always present. I can't do anything to get rid of it. No matter how much I diversify, I never can fully get rid of market risk. If you look at the graph on page 273, the textbook is explaining exactly what this is all about, and both of these are defined for you on page 273. So if you want somewhere to go back to read a little bit about diversifiable versus market risk, please go back to page 273, and you'll see the definitions there and the full explanation. Since diversifiable risk can be diversified away, in other words, we know how to manage diversifiable risk, we need to know about market risk. That's what investors are mostly concerned with. And the measure for market risk is beta. So I'm going to write down a couple of qualities about beta over here. And the first one is that it measures market risk. The second thing is that the overall market, and that's the stock market, the overall market beta is assumed to be equal to 1.0. And everything involving beta revolves around this figure. If I have an individual stock with a beta greater than 1, this stock is more volatile than the market. If I have a stock with a beta less than 1.0, my stock is less volatile than the overall market. So keep these things in mind as we continue to discuss beta throughout these next few problems. In this problem, if we look at our stock here, we see that stock number 1 has a beta of 0.8. So stock number 1 is less volatile than the market. Stock 2 has a beta of 1.4. So stock 2 would be considered a little bit more volatile than the market. The problem asks us to calculate portfolio beta. And I have put the formula up top here. And that formula is on page 278 if you need to refer back to it. So let's see if we can figure out the beta of the portfolio for this particular portfolio. The first thing I need, the formula says W1, and what that means is weight. So I need to know first how much money I have invested in this entire portfolio. So I'm going to add these two together, these two figures right there, and I get $75,000. And $35,000 out of that $75,000 is invested in stock number 1. So if we deal with whole percentages, we would say that 47% of my portfolio is invested in stock number 1. That 47% represents W1. So I'm just going to substitute W1 with 0.47. B1 stands for beta of stock 1, and beta of stock 1 is 0.8. I'm not going to ask you to calculate a beta. Beta will always be given to you. The weight of stock 2, and since we only have 2 stocks in this portfolio, If the weight of stock 1 is 47, we know that the rest of the portfolio, or 53% of the portfolio, is in stock 2. But just to check that figure, if we take 40,000 and divide by 75,000, we'll come back to 53%. Beta 2, the beta of stock 2 is 1.4. Remember order of operations as you're typing this into your calculator. Make sure you multiply first, then add together. So 0.47 multiplied by 0.8 gives me 0.376. And 0.53 multiplied by 1.4 gives me 0.742. Add these two together, and the beta of this portfolio is 1.12. So here is the answer to the question, and we would say that this portfolio, since beta is greater than 1, this portfolio is more volatile than the stock market as a whole.